Okay, so looks like most of us are here. So let's just go through the beginning pieces. Uh, Looks like most of you are on your laptops. Thank you very much, and you will have access to your phones because we might be doing something like that. I forgot to bring my water. If you've forgotten, hold on for about an hour and you can get it. I will give you a break. Uh, if you've got your notebook and paper, remember that there's a lot of stuff going on. What we're talking about is my perspective affected by my practice over the years. So there's a theoretical piece which put a lot of articles into the folder. Raise your hand if you had a chance to look at it. Okay, cool. And so welcome to the third session. And I did say it won't be as hard as last time. I don't know about that. Let's figure that as we go along. Okay. Where did that go now? Okay. Just a recall to the norms that you proposed for staying as a community. Now, if you look at that list, let's just do this before we jump into a revision of the code staying and application of it. There's a lot of stuff that was said here. I'm just going to read out a few that were probably relevant. Being open and receptive, hold on to disequilibrium. Yes, you will be invited to venture into new spaces. So stay with it. Try not to fight it, which is why we create the first 10-15 minutes of this of the 2 hours anyway, is to check in and to raise the questions that you might have in your head, seek clarification, ask your questions, and so on. Try to read the books. Try to read the stuff that you've been given. Hopefully some of you have gone through it, and just remember that this is a course that you've chosen to be part of. And just see how dedicated you can be, because God knows we're putting in a hell of a lot of effort to in the way we're designing this whole thing. And my intention is always to give you more rather than less, without overwhelming you. And just remember, a degree of overwhelming will happen, so that disequilibrium is likely to be the nature of the experience. Be playful, deep listening, don't hold back. So when I asked that question at the beginning, anybody has anything to ask or tell? When I hear silence, I asked you what happens when your students respond in the same way. What are you thinking? And we'll come to that as part of the course today. But it's always a question, it's like, now you are the participant, and you can either treat me the way your students treat you, or you can choose to be different. Okay? And I mean, at some point in time, I might share with you what I'm thinking when I see those faces. But just remember that it's a game two can play at. And I can get anxious, or I can stay calm and say, maybe they're immensely clear about life, no problem. They have no questions, or they have not been able to articulate that question yet, and that's fine too. So there's a lot of stuff out there. It will be in the slides that I put up for session 3. I would urge you to go through that and see which of these are important, because as homework, Che, as we go along, can you just put that down in the homework thing? Write it down now and then put it up in the homework slide. To go through this particular slide to look at norms, and which of them are we going to practice, and are they okay with us?
Cool.
Yeah, so this will be, so this time we're going to introduce a little extra piece. Today, when random groups are made, just make a note of who those people are. They're accessible through the WhatsApp group, and the invitation is for you to get in touch with have your own Zoom call or Google Meet or whatever, and have a conversation about the norms that you proposed. Yeah, so that's homework between now and the next session. Okay, all right, let's move on. So, so here's what we were talking about, and I maybe I can use the annotator um, to draw. So where were we? You were talking about rectangle, the size of the rectangle, right? Okay. So I'm just going to annotate on this with a, what do I use? Huh? Draw. Okay. So, oops, not the best color in the whole world.
Increase line width. Undo it and increase the line width.
Give me a second. I'm trying to
Format.
So, you want me to do it?
can you do that?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Thanks, Che. So just draw the grid, or just those two lines, and yeah. And okay, here we go. So now I'll take it on. So we talked about this, and I said, if you have a big rectangle, you want to do that, or should I do it? Oops. Okay. Did you do that, or did I do that?
No, I did the green one.
Oh, great, cool. Sorry, that red just adds color to it. So if you're a big rectangle or a square, what it basically indicates is that you lean into that a lot more, and your scores will be much higher for that style of learning. And therefore, it's harder for you to move from here, here we go, from here to anywhere else. Okay? Now, if you are the pink rectangle, then it's easier for you to flip. It's physics. If you have, now tell me, is it easier to flip this pink rectangle this way or this way? Into the accommodator or into the converger?
Accommodator.
Sorry?
Accommodator. Accommodator.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So it's always harder to flip into the opposite. So whenever you are learning, it makes sense for you to flip. So if you're the pink, and if you want to develop accommodator styles, then you want to flip either this way or this way, whichever way makes sense to you, or whichever you find easier, whichever is more relevant to you in what you're doing. And then flip to the opposite side if you want to. Okay? So then some of you said, hey, like some of you are probably a dot, or you might be a line. Sometimes you'll find that you're not really a rectangle or a square. You're a line. You're along the same thing. And what that indicates is that your ability, the closer you are to the center, the greater your ability to move from one style to another. Okay? Now, the intention was to really create an awareness about the fact that different learning styles exist, and that Kolb's is a critical part of the experiential learning world, and it's used more often. There's a lot of critique on it, but it's a wonderful model that to use primarily to understand that people learn differently, and therefore we need to affect the way we do things so that we can offer something to everyone in the classroom. Okay? Some of that came up in 2 or 3 journal entries that I noticed, that how do I keep everybody interested all the time? Not possible. Now, if you look at the grid of this screen closer to 8 o'clock, tell me how many of us are still there and how many have floated away. Okay? Right now, look at the screen, look at everybody's face, and just do a check in. Do you think we're still there? Right. Now, the point is this I have no assumptions that you're going to stay like that right through 2 hours. I have to. But you can switch on and off anytime you want. So it's hard to keep everybody interested all the time. Okay. Does that answer your question about the square and the rectangle? So the smaller your rectangle or square, the greater the possibility for you to be able to switch from one side to another. The larger your rectangle or square, the more you're stuck, or you tend to use that a little more than others. Okay? Great. Let's move on. Can you clear this? Che? Yeah. Okay. Great. Now,
Vishwas,
yeah.
just a question here. So from accommodator, it's easier to move into reflective than to thinking, I mean, clockwise, or it's just that?
Depends. Okay. Can you bring that back on? Maybe I should do it now. Okay, cool. Okay. So think of this pink rectangle, okay?
Mm.
Now, physics. Is it easier to flip it to the accommodator or to the assimilator?
The accommodator.
Why?
As you said, physics, it's easier to
Because
go.
it's a mirror image.
Yeah, it's a mirror image. Yeah.
That's your answer.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So easier to flip to accommodator than to assimilator.
Mm.
So if you had a rectangle that was like this, oops, what did I do? Okay. Can you draw me a rectangle that looks like this? Che? Okay. Maybe not happening. So anyway, so that's the whole point. Now I want to move on from here. The danger is that we believe that all life begins, life begins at 12 o'clock, right? Now think of sorry, what that means is this. This position is 12 o'clock,
Oh,
3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Okay? Now, the problem with us, it's not a problem, it's just the way we think, that everything must start from here. It doesn't. You don't have to do something before you think about it. So, what's critical is to remember. Yeah, okay, there we go. The critical thing is to remember that whenever we do something, try and move through the entire cycle.
We lost you.
yeah. Vishwas, we're not able to hear you.
I think he's frozen. Let's just wait for a.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost him.
No, just adjust.
Was that me?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Great. So let's continue. Am I there now? So
Yes, yes.
you guys froze. So I said something must be wrong. Right. So getting back to it, just remember that we don't always have to begin with an activity. We can begin with.
You need to share screen.
Yeah.
I haven't shared screen. Okay, here we go. Do you have it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Each one, no, is it just me or in corner? Is it for others also?
Yeah. Like V and
Okay, but
B is hidden.
gone out of the screen, so can you just go
Because I think just maybe you might just have to escape and
one thing?
full screen it again. Yeah.
No. I'll just go over the simulation. And
okay, I'm just going to try and do it again, okay? Stop share.
just full screen kara di. And then I'll just
Share screen?
no. Full screen that first.
Who's doing this?
Yeah. First. Okay, go to the previous.
Yeah.
There we go. You're mute, sir.
Okay, there we go. So we don't also always have to begin with a concrete experience. We can always begin with something else. And I'm going to give you an example of each time you can change your 12 o'clock. And sometimes I think that this changing of 12 o'clock is part of how we think. And if we can change that, then the whole cycle moves around. Okay, a classic example of starting with that is in your classroom. I'm just going to take some classroom, some topic, so don't get stuck to whatever. Is I walk into a classroom of let's say children, and I say, "What do you think will happen if I throw something into the air?"
It will fall down.
It will fall down.
How do you know that?
We have seen it.
Why will it fall down?
We have seen it falling.
I see.
Gravity.
Can you show me? You got it? You don't have to do it right now. But I just walked you through 3 stages. I asked you a question. You reflected. You gave me an abstract concept that's in the book.
Gravity.
Then I said, so now show me. And then you go into, so I started with reflective observation. I walked you through the abstract concept which you had read somewhere, somebody's told you. And I say, how do you know that? And I say, show me. And then I say, okay, so what does that mean in the context of how you do things in your life? Will you throw a rock and stand under it? Will you?
No.
Nope.
Why not?
Because it hurts.
How do you know that?
Feeling.
Because I have experienced it.
There you go. So for you, that's real, and for somebody else, it might not be real. So just to remember that that all classrooms live by and large here.
Abstract.
All content is an abstract concept.
Mm-hmm.
Schooling as we know it is here. And we expect life to teach them the other things. Weird, know how it works? Okay.
Vishwas, I have a question here.
Yeah.
Last week we discussed about this growth, how it happens through some pain, like from a comfort level. We have I forgot the zone name, then we learn. So when we move through these cycles, do we have the same process? If it's like self-driven, do we go through those phases of outside comfort, pain, and then learning?
I don't know if I would use the word pain.
Grown.
Grown, yeah. Grown is, it can be painful, but it's not so much that you can't tolerate it or you can't accept it. So you grow and you say, yeah, yeah. How many of you have been exercising? Okay. How many of you don't normally exercise? There you go. You know what? Start running. And tell me what that pain is like. But if you, in your head, your abstract concept is saying, hey, you know what? I've been sitting for 3 months. Maybe I should go for a walk today. And you go for your walk and you say, my God, it's so beautiful outside. And you come back and then the next morning you wake up and what's likely to happen?
We have cramps in the body.
Sore muscle.
You have a little soreness.
Yeah.
And if somebody asks you, hey, how are you feeling today? You went for a walk. You said it was a beautiful day. Are you going to do that today? What are you likely to say? Right? And you might say, I don't know. I'm kind of aching today. And if I'm one of those guys who I am, and I say, you know what, that's your growth stage. And you can go run back to your comfort zone if you want. But see if you can do it today also, because it takes a certain while for the body to get accustomed to it, to move forward into that growth stage. So
Sure, thank you.
pain may be involved, but it's not so much that you run away from it.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, shall we move on? So just remember that you can enter this cycle at any of these places. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention before we go on to today's thing, because it's the cycle will come alive when I tell you the story and build something else using that story. Any questions, anything else you need to know before we move on? Okay. All right. So today, okay, what image, give me words that, what do you think is going to happen next?
He has to find something.
Huh?
He's asked to find something via blindfolded.
No. So this image is supposed to, is for you.
Uncertainty.
Right. There's likely to be uncertainty today. What else?
Some excitement.
A surprise.
You are going to make us to experience something which we didn't experience before.
Okay.
Or we didn't, yeah, surprised maybe.
Surprise, maybe?
Surprise.
Okay, so the surprise is this. We tend to look at life and think it's one thing. But this is a beautiful quote from this guy, and his whole point was the real act of discovery consists not in finding new landscapes. So this is what it means. You're teaching in a school, you're doing a particular job, you don't like it, you're unhappy. And then we take another job. And what do we find there?
Unhappiness.
Same distance.
Unhappiness.
Oh, potentially. So we go in search of something, and it's more than likely that we don't find it.
Yeah.
And we think, and we can often do that from job to job, or it's like I make a dosa in a particular way today, and then I say, that didn't have enough, whatever. Then I put more oil, then I put butter, and then I put some chutney. And our whole life seems to be conjuring up these ideas to find happiness. But what this means is, it may not be that. Maybe we need to look at that dosa or that classroom or that job with new eyes. And so
has a different perspective.
Quite right. And I think today it's to take you on that journey of finding new perspectives, especially in the context of what we do with our groups. Now, I might use the word classroom more often than not, but just remember, you could be a parent and it would still be valid. It could be a relationship with a spouse, your partner. It's still valid. It could be a classroom. It's still valid. You could be in a corporate as a manager leading a team. It's still valid. So if you don't see the relevance, feel free to just check in, and I'll give you a scenario or build context for you in whatever scenario that might be real for you. Okay, great. Oh, there's wonderful stories behind each one of these photographs. This is a bunch of platform kids. There's somebody in Pune who was working with these kids who run away from home, and they used to sleep on the roof of the railway station. And she would go and collect them, and you know, she created a community. Otherwise, the police would throw them into a juvenile home, which is like hell, and she would just get them together, and she started an organization doing that. So this is about 20 odd years ago. We brought a bunch of 30 kids to the campsite that I was running, and 3 days of not having to worry about where their next meal came from. We gave them new clothes, and it was one of the most amazing programs that I've ever run. So this is a photograph from that. So almost every photograph has a story behind it. So here's the beginning of, this is what I want you to do. You know how to annotate, right?
Yes. Yeah. We know.
Super. So go to that text tool, and on that side of the screen, please write down the words that drop into your head when somebody says, "What is adventure?" In your opinion, what is it? Go ahead. And just stay on that side of the screen. Yeah, it's okay to duplicate. Don't worry.
What do you want to say?
This is a 30-second exercise. Your time starts now.
Didn't get that.
Have you ever been on an adventure? You have. Risk. Nice. Okay? We've got a collection. Here's the next one. Now, when you think of education, I want you to think of schooling. The schooling means the act of going to school or college. What words come alive for you? Yeah, you can go further down and type as well, okay? Duty, must do, listening, discipline, routine, warning in capital, concept, mundane, drudgery. Okay, if you have access to the screen, can you just move some of those words around so the ones that are being written over can be seen? Or do I need to do it?
Yeah, since you're sharing, only you can move them around.
Okay. Spend too much time doing that. Okay, got the idea? Any afterthoughts? Take a screen grab. Okay, so here are the. Let's just see which words are appearing. Discipline, boring, no choice, theory, sincere teachers, fear, drudgery, play, fun. Oh, okay. Shall we move on? Right. These are the definitions. Now, I've done this exercise with other people before, so here's what they came up with. And so the issue is this: what does experiential learning, what does this methodology really intend to do? And this is, you won't find this in a book. This is something, or if you do, then I guess I was thinking similar to somebody else. But the question for me was, how do we, when people talked about doing an adventure program, if a school said, can you take our children out and do, take them on an adventure or a camp or whatever, I said, what are they really asking? And what they were saying was, give them some adventure. And all those people that you see on the screen right now, sitting there and listening to me currently, are saying, how can we bring adventure into education? And what are those elements about adventure that we can bring into the classroom? Because that's what this methodology really does. So if you look at it as a continuum, and you say, what is adventure? This is what people came up with. Exploration, fun, games, movement, curiosity, self-evaluation, behaviors, invitations, risk, uncertainty, success is not a fixed place. And for some strange reason,
Okay, I think he's agree.
Lost your voice, Vishwas.
The screen is frozen.
Should we all switch off our videos when he comes back again? Last time, I think he worked a bit. Just poor network.
Yeah, we can switch off and see if it makes a difference.
are you there?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, my connection's a little unstable today. They decided.
Shall we switch off our videos then?
Sorry?
Shall we switch off our videos then?
No. Don't worry. Does that make a no? Then I lose you. I'll be a very unhappy person. Hold on. Okay. Are you seeing my screen?
No, sir. We can't
Not
see
yet.
it.
Okay. Right. So I shall. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the nature of adventure. And when I said, okay, what is schooling? What is education to you? This is what they came up with. Okay? And what we're trying to do is to get to a point where we might bring some of education into the outdoors and some adventure into the classroom. Okay? And experiential methodology does that beautifully. So if you get a chance, we've got a book on our store called Adventure in the Classroom, written by Laurie Frank. So you can order it sometime if you want. It's a wonderful book.
Adventure in Classroom.
Adventure in the Classroom by Laurie Frank. On the website, if you go to the store, I think Che, by the end of this session, will give you some sense of what we can do. If couriers are working, then I think we'll be able to send it to you. Okay, cool. So here's my question. I want to introduce another way of learning. Okay, and so here's how many of you plan what you learn?
And learning.
Yeah, which means that before this class, you said, I'm joining an experiential methodology class. I should go and Google what experiential learning is, make some notes, and decide what I want to learn.
No.
No. Okay. So this is what I want you to think about. Just draw this where in whatever you have. So you have an x-axis and a y-axis. And mark yourself wherever you think you are. So this would be high, and this would be low, and this would be high. And emergent learning is, wait, not yet. Hold on. And this is what whoever that is, yeah, thank you. Breathe. Whew. Okay, so let me explain to you what it is. Planned learning is you plan your learning, you decide, you make a to-do list, you decide what you learn. You may have, that's not my,
Can't hear, somebody's dog is barking.
yeah, put the mute on the dog. Okay,
maybe if you're not talking, we can unmute ourselves.
Yeah, I'll unmute.
Okay, so
sir, you have unmuted yourself. You are muted as well.
Okay?
Yeah.
Great. A high planned learner will have to-do lists and will go by the book. And they'll say, this is what I want to learn. And they might go to a session, and if they don't get answers, somebody asks them at the end of it, hey, you had a long list of things you wanted to learn, and you went for this course. Did you learn anything? And they're more than likely to look at that list and say, yeah, I learned this and I learned that, and I didn't learn that and I didn't learn that, and so on. And that list becomes a lot more important than the learning. So they plan a hell of a lot, but if they don't allow anything to emerge from it, then they stay at the planning stage. The other end of the emergent learning type is a person who says, somebody asks them, hey, you're joining a course, you had a session today, what did you learn? Learn? I didn't know there was something to learn. And they're at the other end of this, and what they're essentially saying is, so, and you ask them, what was it? Oh, he said a lot of interesting things, and yeah, I stayed engaged, and we did this and we did that, and so on and so forth. Because we don't know, I don't know if I learned anything. So that's this end of it. Okay? So it's like, go with the flow. And that flow sometimes takes that person away to where even a place that even they don't know where they are. You get the differentiation? Cool. What I want you to do is put a dot on where you think you are. So if you say, oh, I plan about that much, and I'm kind of here, I'm more, I allow my learning to emerge from whatever happens, then just put a dot there. Okay? So all I need is dots. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You know how to do that? I think you have to go to annotate.
Yeah.
And you have to choose draw and choose a circle bottom right. Yep. Yeah, the disc is fine too. Don't worry about how it looks. Just to get a sense of. Oh, somebody likes a green line. Okay. Everybody done? More or less. Right. Will you remember where you are, Che? Can you just draw the? Can you draw the two lines here? Or shall I do it? He's playing with it too. Okay, imagine a 50-50. Okay, so divided into 4 quadrants. So, okay, that's good enough. Approximately. I can see you're working in a different space right now. Okay, try and remember which quadrant you're in, okay? Right. Ready? Can we take a screen grab of this?
Yeah, I have.
You have. Thanks, Mavi. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, this is the grab you need to take. I think that thing had moved. You got it? Okay. Now, this is something that this guy came up with, and he said, "Okay, you know what? This person is described as a sleeper. They don't plan much. They don't necessarily pay a lot of attention. They're the sleepers of the world." Now, just remember that just sleeper is not a bad thing. Just imagine what your potential for learning is once you wake up. I'm guessing you guys know where these characters are being taken from.
Star Wars.
Okay, just another perspective on. So our classrooms are full of people like this. So when I say, look, I put so much into the folder, see if you can find some time to read it. And some of us do, and some of us don't, and some of us just allow it to emerge. And you might say, after the course, I'm going to do all the reading. Fine, whatever works for you. Just remember that if we do not cultivate a different style, then we've not adventured at all. So then we let our past carry into the future. And if you're okay with that, that's fine too. So don't complain if your children or your students do not. So if you're a planned learner, if you're this type, and most teachers by and large want their students to be that, but won't be that themselves. And most of us in life, ठीक है यार, कुछ होता है तो होने दे, कुछ तो होगा. I'll just go climb the mountain. Kuch hua to theek hai. If something happens, great. If nothing happens, that's okay. I'll just go with the flow. I'll go enjoy it, whatever that means. So just know that this is another way of looking at our learners. Any comments or questions? Can you recognize yourselves? Forget the dot.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you're a sleeper. Raise your hand if you're a warrior. This is interesting. Very few culturally we are not warriors in the learning aspect. Okay, I mean, if any of you are Pathans or Marathas or whatever, don't take it badly, wrongly. That's not what I meant. we don't really do much thinking about our learning. And so how many of you are adventurers? Right. The funny thing is, this field invites mostly adventurers, which is why only 30% of you are doing any journaling at all. Got the message? Right? And then you think about where you want your students to be.
Sorry.
Can you put a dot on where you want your students to be? Annotate.
Vishwas, I have a very different question. Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, to know where we are, we need to really understand ourselves very well. So, what if our understanding of a learning set is very, maybe it's not in depth. It's like what we feel. Then these activities also seem bit like it's fun, but I don't know how seriously can it be taken to say this is our learning style. I am a warrior, I am a sage, I'm a sleeper, I'm an adventurer.
As seriously as you are today.
Sure.
And that will change. That'll move around a bit. So I will ask you a question today and you'll respond to it in your current understanding. But if you did a little more reading, had a little more exposure, thought about it a little more, that's likely to change.
Sure.
So, which is why they say, this guy, I read an article written by this guy, and he says, who are the most productive people on the planet? What age group?
Children.
Myth. 60 plus. 60 to 70 are the most productive. Woo.
After retirement.
50 to 60 next. 70 to 80 third. And then all you guys are way below that. And teenagers who are seen as most productive are actually only in 6th or 7th place. And the reason is this, the very question that you asked, that by this time in your life, you've seen enough and hopefully read enough and seen enough and thought about it enough to be able to respond very differently to everything. So just a thought. You see, everybody wants their children to be sages. And it's way beyond Yoda as well. But we have a justification in being where we are. Just be careful of this. Maybe the word is not careful. The word is mindful and kind. Because when it comes to, we want them to behave like sages when we are somewhere here. How is that fair? I want to leave you with that thought. Okay, let's move on. Jay, clear? Thank you. Great. So here's the story. And the whole thing is going to be built around this. Anybody teaches geography? Great. Nobody. Anybody teaches 7th grade? Oh, okay, there. 7th grade?
10.
Have you all passed 7th grade? Woo!
Yes.
So 7th grade, so a whole bunch of teachers told me the stuff you're talking is all, it's great for you to be a consultant and come and do a teacher training program and tell us how wonderful experiential methodology is, but you don't know how hard it is to walk into a classroom of 40 children and teach them, because half the time is spent in getting their attention. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Right. Yeah, many of you in your journals have talked about that, right? I'm saying, yeah, really? Okay, let's go find out. So I went back for a year and taught 7th grade geography and 5th grade environmental science. And I got permission from the school with my wacky, mad ways. And the basic agreement was very simple. I would be regular. I would attend all classes. I would give them, I would do an assessment or what you call tests every month and every term. I said, okay, my conditions, I want a double period. I don't want a 40-minute class. I want 80 minutes. And I did that twice a week through the year. The second condition was I set the question paper and the answers will be based on their experience of the classroom, not what the textbook says. But the content will be derived, the approach will be derived from the textbook. And this is what the 7th grade geography, if you can take a screenshot of this, this would be great, because I'm going to give you 10 minutes to design an approach to 7th grade geography. Okay? So this is what it looks like. Do a screen grab?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you look at the textbook, it's about half a centimeter. And this is what it is. But you don't have to take it, you can't read any of this. I just wanted to make it visually appealing to those who learn visually. So this is what it looks like. Okay? You ready? See, our whole approach currently is designed for this. There's only one answer. And that answer comes from book. And that answer gets burnt into the brain of that teacher to a point where in their sleep, if you answer the question wrong, they will put a cross. Okay. So what you're going to do now is you're going to break up into breakout rooms.
Vishwas, can you go back to that screen? I couldn't take the shot. The one,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have a Mac, it's Control Shift 3, Command Shift 3, and if you have a PC,
Green screen.
I don't know how to do it on a PC.
Function print screen.
Just
Function
Print screen. Function
print screen.
Print screen. Yes. Function print screen.
Yeah.
Windows, I think it's Windows.
Just print screen.
Function print screen.
Yeah. This one
is a no, save. Sorry.
Save to OneDrive.
It's OneDrive, Microsoft.
Or just take a phone, take a picture of the screen or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Breakout rooms. Che, and you've got, I'm going to give you a little more time today, like 7 minutes. Is that good?
Vishwath, how many minutes?
10 minutes.
Cool.
Okay. Che, you want to tell them whatever needs to be told?
Nothing much really. They took the screenshot, right? That's all.
Yeah, and just remember one thing. What I'd like you to do is to collect ideas. Don't try and design the whole year. I want you to consider an approach to it. Okay? And go wild with it. And just make a list. And hopefully you'll have an annotator. No, a note taker. Sorry. A note taker, have a note taker, and that note taker then has to copy paste into the grid that we give you afterwards. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. You ready? On your mark. Get set. Go.
Are you making 4 columns, Vishwas? Room 1, room
Yes,
2, room 3,
I think
room 4?
Chetan will be doing that.
All right. Okay.
Che?
He's doing it, Vishwas.
Great.
I forgot which room I was in.
Oh, sure.
Oh, Preeti, do you know which room we were in? Or Avni?
I think we were in room number 1.
1, okay. Thank you.
Room 3 must be having a assimilator. Who's a note taker for room 3?
Samya.
Are you an assimilator?
Accommodator.
Wow, it's pretty neat for an accommodator. What was your second highest score?
I think, just go back to it.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Very interesting stuff. And just as an exercise, I'm just curious to know how many of you felt like 2 weeks ago you might not have come up with this. So can I assume that all of you feel that 2 weeks ago you would have done the similar list?
No.
No.
Oh, no, not some of the points. Wouldn't have thought about those.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, some of the points others. Yeah.
So you've been influenced in some way by 2 sessions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Great. Now let's hit some buttons today. Here's what I eventually did. Okay, you take a screen grab of this?
Yeah, taken.
Taken.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I want to share with you the entire thinking behind how it went through. Okay, so this is how it started. First, I had to define what's our purpose. So these are the questions I asked myself and then expanded on it with the classroom. What's our purpose of being together? Why am I in that classroom and why are you in that classroom? So in some ways we kind of defined that. Then we said, okay, but geography is geography, but we are a community first. So how do we build community, and how do we build that classroom as a community? Because we're going to be together for the rest of the year. And if we don't have certain norms that we operate on, each time we're going to repeat the same things, the quarrels will be the same, the struggles will be the same, the arguments will be the same. And somewhere we need to begin to think together, that we need to remember that we're part of something that's common. The third piece was, okay, so we're a class of 40, and somewhere we need to also, not just as a community, but in small groups, that our work's going to be done in smaller groups. So how are we going to define that? And how are we going to work in those smaller groups? And the fourth one was obviously individual growth, that through this whole process, each one of us is going to move in the way we think about not just geography, but our classmates, about the school, about our community, and about the world at large. Because the topic is our environment. So this was the bigger thinking, and now I'm going to translate it into the code cycle and show you how it fits in and some of the questions that came up for me. So this is how it works. Now, by and large, just remember that these kids were like this. Yeah? And it's like, God, don't ask me to write. Don't ask me to read. I don't want to be here. You keep going blah, 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 blah. And I think the exciting part about our jobs, our roles as educators, is to get people to find their flow. So, this is what a classroom could look like. Right? And the principle that we worked on, and it is a big piece of our experiential methodology, is what we call challenge by choice. So you create challenges and you have choices. Now, here's the thing. The choices define the boundaries. So the choice is not, do you want to learn geography? The choice is not, do you want to stay in the classroom? The choice is not, do you want to come to school? So the boundary was,
come to school.
Our purpose is school. Our purpose is geography. Our purpose is meeting twice a week for 80 minutes each. Now we can create choices within that. Okay? Now the principles of challenge by choice are these. And if you remember the story I told you about that girl who went up the 40-foot high story, principle was operating then. What was the principle? That there is a challenge, but you don't have to do it. You can choose the level at which you want to relate with that challenge. And if the challenge, if your response to that challenge is, okay, now this principle has to be brought into operation and laid out as the foundation stone of the methodology. And I'm going to explain that to you through a story once I'm through with this. So what are the elements of this principle? It's based on an invitation. Members are invited to participate voluntarily in each of the various activities and challenges, including geography. So if a student says, today I don't want to pay attention, oh, that's fine. We can have a conversation about, okay, so you don't want to engage with the challenge of geography today. What would you? The question is not, can I go and play on the field? No, that's not the choice. The choice is, what would you like to do that would in some ways keep you engaged? Do you want to read something else? Okay. Do you want to just sit and listen? That's fine. You can do whatever you want, but there are those boundaries remain alive. And this will come, it'll be much clearer when I tell you that story. So participation is voluntary. You have the freedom to participate or not. Okay? A member may choose to sit out an activity, and this right is to be respected by others in the group and by the instructors and the educators. What that means is that just because some kid says, I don't want to participate, we don't need to go after them and say, Arey, kya kar raha hai yaar? Come on, join the group. What's your problem? No, let them do it. Let them engage themselves in not engaging in what is expected or what the other members of the group are doing. That's fine. Okay?
So some kid is screaming and it's really disturbing.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, give me a second. I'm just going to... Damn, these children, man. Get out! Okay.
No, you're taking their choice away.
No, I'm making the choice of shutting the windows. Is that better?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. So respect is an important piece of this. That kid is not going to be like that every day. On a particular day, they're going to choose not to engage. They will come back the next class. On different days, different children might choose to disengage and say, no, we just want to sit in a corner. The third is the principle recognizes that individuals potentially stand to learn and grow more by refusing to participate on occasions rather than unthinkingly or resentfully participating. And this is a really powerful piece. Those of us that have children, if your child chooses to not participate on a particular day, how do we learn to respect that? Or is our choice the only thing that we choose to respect? And sometimes we take that danda and we run after them and say, no, today you have to do this. You have to have your green veggies. You have to have milk in the morning. You have to do exercise. You know what I'm talking about. I can see those parents smiling there in the corner. Just remember this. We do it. And the beauty of this principle is for us to understand that if a child chooses not to participate, they probably have more to gain from not participating than being forced to participate in something.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You have written that the child refuses to participate on occasions. Now, there was once where a child completely refused to participate at all occasions.
Okay.
That time, how do I inspire him to, do either something which can let him learn the subject in any form?
See, that's the problem. We're so focused on getting the task done that we have a problem with that child refusing. Did you find out why?
It was born.
I can hear the silence. You see, yeah.
Vishwas, but this looks very. This is the ideal scenario. But when we go to a classroom, like children have to go and do exams. They're expected to wear neat dresses. So if a child refuses to do that, then there is some amount of force needed, right? So like the boundaries keep on increasing. Like as you said, there are some compulsions, So when needed, we keep increasing those boundaries.
Yeah, to a point where they become fairly meaningless.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah. I agree.
I'm saying this is that whole control piece.
True.
We want control over their moods and their desires on a day-to-day basis. They have to be able to be happy. They must be happy wearing a uniform that has been ironed and a tie that fits properly and is not, oh God, man. Is that why people go to school? To wear good uniforms, well ironed? When did we forget what this education thing was all about? I know you will ask me the same question again and again. What do I do with this kid who doesn't want to do it on a daily basis? Here's the beauty of it.
And Vishwas, I want to add something. Hello, Vishwas.
Yes, Bharat, go ahead.
Communication is very important, and the parties involving in the communication have that respect, mutual respect and inclusion there. And I think whatever a kid do, it has some reason, and we have to think about the reason what he or she is doing. Kids don't do without any reason. Nobody does anything without any reason. There is some reason behind everything, the action and whatever they are saying or doing. If some kids do the certain things, so he should have learned, or he has something in his mind or experience that he's doing that thing. So we have to understand the kid first, then we can see how we can do with him also.
Which is what I'm calling building community. So creating that classroom as a community where we respect what people need. Okay, so
yes.
the school was pretty tough with my approach, and I said, look, don't ask me about kids learning any geography till October. June, July, August, September, October. And I spent that time in building community. Now, of course, they were learning geography along the way. But that community building was a critical piece in the entire year. So here's how codes came alive. So the exploration began. You remember the outermost circle?
Yes, yes.
You remember what it was?
Purpose of our being.
A purpose of being together, right? Why are we in this classroom? Why is it geography? And building around that. And these, so there were two pieces that just some of you might find useful, that any project, anything that we do in a classroom or with people or with individuals or children or whatever, has two critical elements. One is the get to, where do we want to get to? And the other is the how to. Okay, the get to was those pages, the content, the curriculum. And these were the questions. Now here is the exploratory piece that begins. I mean, saying, I don't know where you are in your understanding of the earth. And I don't know where I am. So let's find out. What do you know about the earth? So we did some exploration, and as we went through this process, we discovered how much we knew. What would you like to know about the earth? Now, this is an important piece where I'm offering choice. You notice the way it's framed, right? What do you want to know? So I've already got them created curriculum. This is not about climbing mountains to learn geography. It's about, okay, what would you like to know about the earth? Okay? Where will you find the answers? These are the bigger questions. Because these questions are going to guide our process going ahead. How will you put it together? If you had to teach it to your juniors, what tools would you create? Now the how to. Now, those are the things that will be done. This is a list of the things that will be done, but there's a process involved. And the process is the how to. How will we work? Are we going to work as one class of 40? Are we going to break up into smaller groups? How are we going to work? Are we going to be individualistic about this, or shall we be community-based about this? How will we manage and share information? Oh, I forgot to mention, I threw away the book, the textbook, by the second session. I said, this textbook is not going to be our guide. We're going to rediscover geography. So can we divide the task, assign roles and responsibilities, and how are we going to do that? How will we measure ourselves? How will we know that we know about geography? And as we go through the process, differences are going to emerge. How are we going to manage them? What else can we learn as we learn about all this? So now that whole circle is expanding. Okay, it begins with geography, but it expands into community and into the neighborhood and everywhere. Any thoughts, comments?
Basically, don't even give any form of answer. Just let them come up with answers.
This is exploration, which is why that whole reflective piece is the question, what? So we established the boundaries, and the boundaries were that we will meet twice, 80 minutes, and there will be periodic assessments. How, we will figure out later. So this was establishing the outer boundary. Then we went into, remember, this is all that question, what, okay? Then we went into more detailed stuff, and we said, okay, what are we interested in about geography? So I want you to just look at those questions. This material will be available to you, but I need to go through the story. This is how I used cold cycle.
So Vishwas, to understand this, like you were asking these questions to the students and getting answers and then proceeding to the next topic. And you also maybe gave some additional points that they may have missed out.
Yeah, good question. So this is what emerged. This is what we discovered, that if you look at those 10 topics, you notice that it's really about the physical features of the planet, by and large. Yeah? So that became our get to. Right? Now, okay, what does physical features mean? And you'll notice that the physical features affect civilization. Civilization affects atmosphere, pollution, all that. So there's this link that is built. But we begin with, okay, what are the physical features of the planet and how have they affected humanity and how we live and so on and so forth, our environment. And just remember, this is a 4-month process.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's not as if I ask this question, get it answered and move on. These questions are asked again and again and again and again till we figure it out. But they're constantly what's alive is an act of exploration by them. Make sense?
Yeah. And you don't use the workbook, the textbooks, you keep it.
So one of those questions was, where are we going to get this information?
Right.
Library, internet. Okay, great. How are we going to use the internet? So they went home. And I said, on one particular day, I said, okay, so go home and ask your parents whether you can use the internet and how long you can use it for. They came back with an answer, and some of them could and some of them couldn't. And then I said, okay, so now how are we going to manage this? They said, those who can, will. So they went back the next day and they asked for permission to be able to print stuff. Do you have any idea what emerges through this? Box files. of printed material about the physical features of the planet. Okay?
Create their own modules.
See, now they've got to manage all this, right? So what we said, physical features of the planet. Now, so we've asked these what questions. Now we have to put it together. And that's the abstract. Now the abstract concept of physical features comes alive. So now we have to ask different questions. So
but you will do a constant check if the information is correct, if they're understanding the question, getting the right information.
Is there such a thing?
For science, obviously there is. For geography, we have some basic.
Is there wrong information?
Or bigger of
wrong information.
So like if I think about the atmosphere, there's atmosphere, stratosphere, different layers. There can be some confusions on the different layers. I'm just thinking at the top of my head.
That's content. That's content. They have the brains to figure that out. There's no confusion there.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you really delve into it and allow yourself to receive what emerges, you'll notice that there is no such thing as wrong.
Sure.
Everything that they were doing was right. They had box files of information, damn it. The problem wasn't information, it wasn't content. We focus on content in every damn classroom, including this one. And I'm trying to take it away from there to stories as much as I can, because the beauty of it is in how that content emerges, or we can build context to that content and make it real in their lives, in your lives. I'm trying to make it as real as possible in your lives. Right? I tell you what, I've never done any of the things that you guys are experiencing in the past 3 sessions. I've never done it in deep. You know why? Because I just talked about it and it's easy to talk. But this is inviting me to put all that information and dig into my brain and say, what exactly did I do? What's the process? I'm just having so much fun with it. So now the question is, so what? So what if we learn? Valid question, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, your kids are going to ask you this. If you're leading a team, your people are going to ask you, why should I learn about diamonds? Yes, Prajakta? Why should I go into depth about 56 cuts and 52 faces and clarity and all that? Why the hell should I do that?
Yeah.
What if we don't get the information? What if all the parents had said, forget it, I don't want to give my children internet time? We don't know. What if we don't get permission from the school to visit the library? You know how schools are with libraries, right?
Yeah. Specific timing and
lock and key. Yeah. What's the point?
Protect the books.
Yeah, behind doors. Anyway, that's a personal piece. Doesn't matter. But then I got permission from the school and I said, look, I want them to be able to visit. I want, and they said, okay, you can do it, but you can do it in 3s and 4s, just in case some other classes there. I said, okay. Here's a good one. What if we lose interest? I don't know. Tell me what we're going to do, because at the end of the year, you know what you said you are going to get to. So these are typical so what questions. And this is all abstract. We don't have the answers to this. If the kids had said, you make the rules and then we'll follow them, it again becomes another abstract concept that they don't understand. Because it's not theirs, it's mine. It's the teachers. It's all abstract concepts come from the book, by and large. Newton's law, a squared plus b squared plus whatever that is. You know what? I've never figured out that equation, but it doesn't matter. Why do we do algebra in school? No idea. Still haven't figured it out. Chetan will tell you a story about how calculus worked for him. Anyway. process. How is it going to help us? How is geography going to help us? What place does it have in our lives? How will we find alternate resources? How will we present our case? How are we going to deal with absence of interest and participation? Again, so the so what is the abstract, and the process is community building, and they go together. The problem in classrooms today is that we do not see the classroom as a community at all. It's just a bunch of blackheads sitting in rows and columns, and the expectation is that they sit like that through 4 hours of different faces walking into the classroom. Okay. So these are typical so what questions. You see how we're going through the cycle? Okay. Now what? Now we go do all that. What are we going to do with it? Now that we have the knowledge, what shall we do with it? How will it affect our lives? What will it change in the way we see the planet? How will we confirm what we've learned? What have we learned about ourselves as a group? Individually? How are we going to apply what we learn? So these are all now what questions. Now just remember that it's not as if we asked all these questions, got the answers, and then went ahead, okay?
Yeah.
This is going through a cyclic motion. So it's a kind of a longish story. To cut it short, here are some images of what eventually emerged as a result. So we've gone through the what, we've gone through the so what, we've gone through the now what. Now, all of it, you remember this slide? Last session?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, this posing questions, investigating, experimenting, being curious, solving problems, this is what they did, and this is the heart of it, the methodology. That, like you said, what we're really doing is asking questions and getting them to discover and explore. That's what we do. Okay? And then we did something. What did we do? And this is what we did. They decided that they were going to paint, draw, make, I don't know what the word is, 10 by 20 size mural of the planet. We call it a map. Right? Great. I mean, how many hands does it, now look at the whole community building piece, right? How many hands does it take to draw a straight line?
There's a big one. 4.
4? How many hands do you count there? It's just like, I want to be there. You know, my participation in the thing is really important. So these are just some pictures. And the thing is this, there's something about boys and girls. Boys are good at some things and not so good at some things. One of those things is attention. Girls are good at some things and not good at something. What they're good at is that whole, dedicated, let's get to it piece. Ye karna hai kind of thing. They started dragging me to school because they were having so much fun on Saturdays. They would bring their dabbas and they would come in their mufti clothes, and we just had a ball. We'd come there at about 9 o'clock, have lunch, and then leave. And and this was all part of that whole community piece. And it became so important to them that this was more important than the exams. 2 sections, 2 maps. You'll notice, is there a difference you see in the 2 maps?
Yes.
What?
One is longer and one is wider.
Size is different.
The scale,
Scale. You're absolutely right.
proportion.
An amazing thing happened. You'll notice that this map is kind of
Yeah.
right. And we said, wow, something's not right about it. And we discovered, and this is 11th grade geography, okay, that there is, when you take the globe and you spread it out as a map, there's a ratio that you have to have between latitude and longitude. The ratio. And it's to 1:1.3 or something like that. And when you do that, then you get this, which is more realistic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And this is 11th grade geography. They discovered it, and they redid the second one based on what they learned from. Well, I don't know if it was first or second, but they were already halfway through painting that one when they realized that it was looking long. And this act of discovery was, I think, for me, the biggest thing, because it wasn't mine. I didn't tell them. I didn't know it. We discovered it. Okay, great. What's your biggest struggle? Now, the thing, that's the story, okay? But it's not as if it was easy. We had quarrels. We had people who didn't want to participate. We had children who said, why have you thrown away the textbook? Can we bring the textbook back and do it like everybody else? We went through those cycles of running back to the comfort zone. We had the cycle of growth and excitement and all that. So what I want you to very quickly do, and Chetan's going to help us with this, is we're going to use, Che, you ready?
Yeah, I've sent you guys a link on the WhatsApp group and in the chat here. So you can use either of them and type in a single answer.
Yeah, and this is what I mean by what's your struggle. You're working with some group or anybody, it doesn't matter. It could be an individual, it could be a classroom, it could be your team. Sometimes you walk away from that conversation feeling empty, feeling like you could have done something better and didn't, and you knew it, but you didn't respond to the moment. And whatever you come up with could be values-based or a process struggle, doesn't matter. I just want you to, your ugliest moment with any group or classroom, what was it? What was your struggle? An example of dealing with a struggle is that noisy kid in the back row. If you have children, you can write that too. My child doesn't listen to me ever. You want to type in anything? Are you guys able to see what's coming up? You are, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, these daughters digging in their heels, man, I'm telling you. Sons too. Okay, Che, can we, how do we get this?
It'll be saved in Menti, so I can export it and send it to you later.
Okay, before you do that, before I take back the screen, people, have you seen this?
Yes.
Okay, we will be putting it up as part of whatever we put into the folder later. So there's one dawai for all this, one medicine, one solution. And I'm going to take you there. And for me, it was, I don't know if it will be for you, so have fun with it. Okay, you ready? Is there anything you want to say before we go to that place? Before we start that? Have you been able to really sense and feel that struggle? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Here we go. This is this is something called invitational education, and I put a lot of material into that.
Share screen again. Yeah.
Sorry?
You have to share screen again.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot. Where is my share screen? There it is.
Done.
Okay. So, and I think what blew me were, now just know that I've simplified it for myself, and I've used maybe a little different language. It's a fairly large subject. There are books written on it. I just took what was most relevant to me, and it's like a one-pager, as they call it. But you can read the rest of it for more detail, and I will be revisiting the details of this in the last session when we talk about selves. Okay? But here's the basic premise. You know, one of the reasons we often get disturbed is that we say, my children are not motivated. And we spend so much time in trying to motivate them. There is no motivational theory on this planet that says that you can motivate somebody else. Motivation is an area of no control. Remember control, no control areas? Motivation is one of them. There's nothing, you can do a lot of things, but don't think that it's going to motivate anybody. It's a choice that those people are going to make by themselves. We have no control over it. We can show them movies, we can take them up a mountain, we can drag them through mud. Choice is eventually theirs. And they will rise to it when they want to, not when we want to. So the problem already begins there. That means I have no control over anybody else's energy? You're right. So now, can you imagine what a lousy feeling it is? So let's change something for ourselves before we change anything for somebody else. Here are the basic assumptions. Have you ever met anybody who is not motivated? If you have, please speak up.
No.
Yes, we have, no?
Really?
We go to a government office, we often find this experience, people not motivated enough.
Really?
I think everyone is motivated by different things.
Wait. Jeevan, let's listen to what Jeevan's saying first. Yeah.
So in a government office, or like I'm giving this as an example, but often we go and we want to get some work done. We find work moving very slowly. So they're not motivated. maybe if you pay them some money, they're motivated. That's different.
Wait, hold on. You just solved it.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe, but not what I. What I'm interested in, like, not what they are supposed to be motivated upon.
Whose problem is that? Whose problem is that, Jeevan?
But the thing is, it is their responsibility, right? Like, we expect workers to.
Hold on. Don't go there. We're talking about motivation.
Sure.
We are not talking responsibility. I mean, if as teachers we were responsible, we do the things that we've been doing. Right? And this whole reason that I feel responsible for my children, which is why I give them a whack every once in a while so they stay in line. Discipline came out as the most important thing, right? Discipline, what is discipline? Rules that we set for somebody else. So as a government person, that guy's job is to deliver goods to me. He's not doing it, therefore he's not motivated. Okay, let's get back. Have you ever met anybody who's not motivated?
Clinically depressed person?
Sorry?
Clinically depressed person?
What are they motivated by?
I don't know. They generally don't.
The need to stay in that state. It's a huge motivation, which is why it's difficult to get them out of it.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's very interesting. They are so motivated to be in that state.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Do it on purpose, no?
That's
something.
Vishwas, in that sense, everybody is motivated, not always, and everybody is demotivated also, not always.
Hold on to the motivation piece now.
Yeah.
We accept that people are always motivated. This is premise 2, that they choose their behavior.
Yeah, good, accepted.
Okay? And the behavior that they choose is to stay safe.
Yeah.
Now imagine every time you walked into a classroom or you were engaging with your children that you remembered this. Maybe we would get less angry. Maybe we would be less motivated or by the other person's motivated state. Does that make sense? You see how we allow somebody else's motivation or absence of motivation to affect us.
Yeah.
And we've got a classroom of 40 children. God, every day we should be dying out of demotivation. Because you know what? Children don't want to be in that classroom. They're just motivated by a completely different thing. Okay, so what I said was this. This is about us. If we can walk into every session. Now, are you looking at the gallery view?
Yeah, but
can you just switch to the gallery view? Can everybody please put on their cameras for a
but when you share the screen, I think we can't come for the gallery view, everybody.
No, you can.
Oh,
we can.
It's on the top. Speaker view and gallery view.
And you can adjust it how much you want it to.
Yeah. Got it?
Yeah.
Please look at everybody else. How much motivation is there in the screen? You don't have to answer the question. I'm asking you to look, because each one of us, I'm guessing, will have a different story to tell. Yeah? Great. So here's the thing. This is, if this was your classroom, what would you be thinking? What should I be thinking? You get it? Okay. Great. Let's move on. So they come up with these 4 pieces. Okay, these pictures are from a movie that you have to see. So some of you may already recognize it. Anybody seen this?
No.
We have seen it. I don't remember the name of the movie, but
Yeah,
The Night Poet Society.
Dead Poet Society.
Dead Poets Society, yes.
Please watch it. It's a wonderful example of a teacher walking into a demotivated, playful, crazy classroom, and then so here are the principles, and each picture, I hope, will give you that sense of it. Staying optimistic. This is about us, remember. This is not about giving optimism to our classroom. This is about us. They're walking into every classroom saying, hey, you know what? My classroom is motivated. These 25 people on the screen are motivated. They're choosing whatever expression they want right now, and because that's the safest thing they can do at that point in time, at this point in time. Okay? Optimism. What does that mean? Can you see it? You can see my screen, right? Okay.
Yes.
The potential is there, waiting to be discovered and invited forth. So if some of you found yourself in the sleeper mode, can you imagine how much potential exists? Huge potential. Yeah? We may not be sages yet, but we want our children to be sages even before we can get out of the sleeper mode. To be inviting in a disinviting environment is to change the environment. What does that mean to you?
Didn't understand this.
So it means like.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Jeevan, go ahead.
No, I think someone else was also sharing their thing.
Okay, anybody?
I was saying take them out of the classroom.
My point was like if we are.
Be careful. One sec, Jeevan. Take them out of the classroom is a ploy, is a strategy. That's different. What does it mean for you to be inviting? This is about you. It's not about strategies.
So I go into a classroom, I find people very like not interested, not enthusiastic. I don't allow that environment to affect me. I still remain myself, and I spread that energy around.
Okay. So, and I know a lot of teachers who've been thrown out of schools because of this. Why? Because I had kids hanging around me all the time. You've seen this, you've probably experienced it. But what that person did, this is also a story of the same thing. He creates an inviting environment in a disinviting space, and just his presence changes the environment. Simple. So yes, Jeevan, you're absolutely right. When you walk in, no matter what they are, you remember where you are. And that's more important than anything else, because that has the ability to change the environment. So all those problems of demotivated children, classrooms, faces, postures, attitudes, everything changes. Okay? Try it. Next time, if you're a parent, next time your child says no, see if you can genuinely hang in there and say, okay. It doesn't mean you let it go. It also doesn't mean that you pursue it. See if you can get to that place where you can get curious and exploratory. And they may not give you an answer that satisfies you. I don't want to drink milk today. Okay. Why not? Because it smells. Okay. If I put in something, will it change anything for you? Maybe. Would you like Bone Vita? Sorry, I'm not selling a brand here yet, right? Or protein eggs, or whatever else. Or Rasna. I have no idea. But the moment we get exploratory, something different begins to happen. But to be exploratory, we have to first accept and respect that no. It doesn't mean you stop asking, would you like to have milk? Or would you like to participate? It doesn't mean you stop asking questions. If you respect the no, each time you invite, you have to remember that if you are really respecting the no, then it's okay for them to say no 50 times. Because you know what? Every invitation we remember it. Think about relationships in which you have been invited and you have consistently said no. Do you remember them? How come? You kept saying no, but you remember the invitation.
Because I didn't want the invitation.
But you remember the invitation?
Because it was irritating.
You still remember it?
That was a bad experience.
Ah, that's different. But think of an invitation that was valid. So let's just say at this point in time, I say, you're sorry for everyone you paid times. Does that sound inviting to you?
Yeah.
No.
If I said, hey, anybody wants to say something? You have the freedom to say no. I'm going to respect that. But this invitation will be remembered. You know, most often it's with our children. Just think about this. Don't ever imagine that they don't care. Every invitation that you send is remembered.
Wow.
I mean, we remember it, so it makes sense. We assume that the other person remembers it.
Interesting.
They're just not feeling safe enough to be able to respond to it in the way that you want.
So I have one question. Like sometimes, if I ask a child, okay, what can you share? What you think? Now this can also be a bit of intimation, right? Like, why are you asking me? When you say, does anybody want to share? Then it is like you're not pinpointing anybody.
Right.
So is it not okay to ask individually? Everyone, do you want to share? Do you want to share?
That's something we're going to cover in the processing module. That how fair is the question? Do you have anything to share? Of course, everybody does. Look at this group and tell me, if I ask a question, do you think you have no idea, that you have nothing to share?
No, everyone will have something to share.
Absolutely right. So something is preventing you from doing it, no?
Yes.
Tired day or at work, maybe.
Sorry?
Maybe it's a tired day after the work. Like the work could have been heavy in the morning.
Is that maybe, or is it true for you?
Yeah, true for me.
Thank you. Anybody else has a good reason not to respond to my questions?
Sometimes I think, Shwas, hello?
Yeah.
It takes a time to immerse in the space and the process there.
Sure.
So sometimes if somebody is asking the abrupt question, suddenly somebody is asking that how do you feel or whatever the question there. So I think for me, it takes some time to get into the space and the audience and the process there. Then to reflect and say something about it.
Good. If I can respect it, then I'm saying, okay, take your time. No, it may be the 10th session by the time you begin to respond. I'm okay with that. All I can say is I can just put it on the table and say, you know what, the earlier you ask the questions, the more fun it's likely to be. Because those questions are real for you. Otherwise, it's just this bald, bearded guy just, going on for 2 hours. 2 hours, 16 minutes. And I intend to finish in the next 5. So if you have anything to say, you can hold that for 5 minutes. Okay.
I just have one more question to ask. So a lot of what we're talking here also involves very, very physical aspect of time to it, right? So we to wait patiently or for wait that student to come back and so on and so forth. So how does it work when we work with deadlines, with classroom environments where we have very deadlines?
All deadlines are unreal.
Really, Vishwas, can we say that you do have exam deadlines?
Really? Well, yes. They're unreal.
All deadlines are deadly.
They cause an enormous amount of death.
Yeah, true. Vishwas, when you said the insight we get, so that gap between what we say, invite, and the response, that sense of feeling of safety, that's a big insight, takeaway. And I reflect myself when you started, we started the program, when you wrote, it's leaving for you and you will not be judged based on the assignments that you sent. You know, the comfort, the comfort that it gave for me to completely submit myself to do more than what I was supposed to do. That was a safety feeling. And now I'm connecting it with how you did it.
And just know this, that everything that I've tried to do has been a conscious effort. The things I'm saying, the way I'm saying it, the context I'm saying it, because that's all I have with you. This is the time we have. If I can't put myself out there and hope that you feel safe, I'm not living my work. And God knows I'm trying to. So if at any time I say something or indicate something that threatens you, feel free to stop me and say, hey, hold on, what was that? Feel free to do that, because that is not my intention. Are we clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just have one more question.
Wait, Soumya, does that answer your question?
It's just that from a application point of view in like the real world, I think this is it doesn't happen to be a conversation. There's always somebody in a position of power, and there's always somebody who's implementing. And it's not necessarily that the person who's implementing is also in the place of power. So
okay, here's my answer to you. Under those circumstances, you will always fail. Not just you, all of us. If I got you to be tremendously excellent experiential educators at the end of 10 sessions, can you imagine the pressure I'm going to be under? I'm going to do what I do. And I'm going to do it with intentionality. I'm going to do it the best way that I can. And then I'm going to leave it to you, because if I can't make it safe for you, you are not going to be interested, you're not going to learn, and I'm going to fail you in that. It's like I started loving, how many people have said this to me over the years? I started loving math because that teacher was really nice to me.
Right.
Yeah.
What? Was that magic? No. So, what does that mean to you? Soumya? What are you going to do next time you walk in with the pressure of a deadline of time?
Fight for it.
That's one. The other is everything possible to get your students to feel safe first. Math is secondary. It will happen. 7th grade geography students learned 11th grade geography and didn't know it because they discovered it. And you have once you've been to a school and you've done stuff like this, you have no idea how underrated our children are.
Vishwas, can I say something? I think what Soumya, what Vishwas is, just out of experience also, what Vishwas is just trying to say is that once you have the love and the trust of the children and that whole atmosphere is built, learning happens like that. And it happens so beautifully. They're all there. They're all, so the deadline is all in our head. It's the stress that we come up with. So that has to at some point stop. Then only things happen, the magic happens. That's what I have experienced.
Here's the thing. I want to warn you about this. I've done a lot of teacher stuff, right? And I asked them, I said, why are you a teacher? You know what they say? Because I love children. I said, if you love children, is this what you would do? I'm just going to leave you with that. So that intentionality is really big piece in this whole thing, okay?
Yeah. Thanks.
It's all about good intentions, terrible invitations. Come and drink your milk, it's good for your bones. All right? I will decide for you because it's good for you. I know better than you. Sure, great intention. Bollywood is full of good intentions, lousy invitations. So next time you're dealing with somebody, see if you can remember this, that they are motivated. They are. We just have to find out what they're motivated about and take it there. And you can use that as a means. Okay? Great. That's your homework, that last line. Anything you want to ask or say?
Great session, Vishwas. It was very, like, huge concepts were covered in a very exploratory way. Like, I think you took us to the whole process that you were trying to share with us. I was having a very tough, like, very hard week at work. Like, I'm enjoying my work, but there were some deadlines to meet. And I was quite tired in the morning. I was wondering, can I come or not? But this has been a good break for me from my regular work and learned something very new. So thanks a lot.
You see, this is the beauty of what you did for yourself. You found your motivation. There was no way I could have brought you to that place of saying, you know what, I've had a hard day and I'm tired, but damn, this is interesting. You're the one who did it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody?
I think the same thing I resonate because today has been probably a very stressful day for me at work, and ending the day at this note and being able to look at things from a different perspective and being able to explore new avenues. I think it's a good way to kind of round up my day and feel feel that now I'm in a safe place. So yes, it was an amazing session. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You were telling that like I'm in a sleeper mode, actually sleeping mode, but can I support someone else to be in a sage mode? Or should I?
Can you? I think the question is, how would you do it? Remember one thing. We are all work in progress. I don't have to be a sage in order to get you to sagehood. Critical is understanding the principle. And once you understand the principle and bring it into your life, it will make a difference to whoever else. So you can't do a damn for anybody else. Rule number one.
Okay.
You be what you want to be, that's important to you, and it will influence whoever is around you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the commercial break. We're starting the next course on the 1st of August. If you enjoyed this, pass the word around, because that's the only way we work. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited enough to say that those of us who are creating the material, putting it together, sequencing it, tightening it, oh God, man, I'm telling you, 1 week of hard work is going into this. All the visualization is all Chetan's. And the reason you're here is because of Madhavi. So I just want to thank both of them immensely for this. If you've liked this course and if you think it's valuable, the next one is going to be similar but different. I don't know if I've ever done the same thing ever again. And that one, I don't know, I'm already giving you a lot of teachery stuff here. So, and the next one is designed to be more teachery, which means directed at teachers. So, curriculum. Okay, so if you like this, please pass the word around. We will send you the flyer. It starts on 1st August. Those of you who have not risked journaling yet, here's the invitation again. You have the freedom to tell me that, you know what, the questions are not exciting enough. Please say so, and I will try harder. You don't have to wait for me to send the questions. You can inspire yourself. You can invite yourself into that space and journal without questions. Think about which of it is relevant to you and whether you want to do it. And thank you so much for all of you who are journaling. I have to tell you that it does help in how I do the next session. Okay? So I think I'm getting better at this. I know I'm enjoying it a lot more. I hope you are.
Yes.
May the adventure continue. Have a good night. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
The recording
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
till next Thursday.
Hello, Vishwas.
Yes.
What about that 10-gram activity?
Next time.
So Vishwas, do we journal in the private message or in the Google Docs? Because I remember.
Yeah, so this is what I'd urge you to do. When you click on there, you will get those 3 dots, and it will ask you different options that you have.
Okay.
And one of them is Google Docs. Just find it in your thingy.
Yeah.
And it's just easier for me to put comments in. Otherwise, it comes in a very different format. Okay?
Yeah, thank you for the session. Really wonderful session. I want to say that, especially the last line. It says, some people wish others won't, and kind of made me realize where I am. So I want to just let you know that.
Okay. Yes, Monica.
I have actually a question to Chetan, because as he is responsible for the slides, I noticed that because there are such a great visualization which are moving, wherever we are getting into the PDF file, we are not really able clearly to see the smaller part. So is there a possibility to, for example, this slide, which is now presented, to save it into 2 slides, so we will get clearly the small portion and the overall?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll send you every bit then.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Wash your brains. See you again next Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.